I loved and I venerate and celebrate Michael Jordan. But I think we're overdosing on Michael Jordan. He's become what I would affectionately call the Black Shadow. And that's a playoff. Remember, there was a TV show called The White Shadow. This fictional basketball player, Ken Reeves, that's coaching a high school basketball team in Los Angeles in the hood. White guy, they call him the White Shadow. Jordan is the Black Shadow that hovers over the NBA like a dark cloud. And he's a constant reminder of how things suck right now. And you really don't need that if you're the NBA. This constant throwback to Jordan in the good old days. And this constant reminder, like, man, these athletes today, they're lazy. They don't play as hard. And so they had a conversation last night with Michael Jordan about load management. And that's really the post-game conversation from, decent night of NBA players, the start of the season, NBA on NBC. They're doing a nice job. But the highlight is, hey, man, how can Jordan remind us that this era sucks in comparison to his era? And they did it again last night. Let's watch Michael Jordan's 3-minute halftime appearance on the NBA, post show or halftime show, pregame show. Let's watch the clip.
The term load management has become such a hot button in the NBA.
How I know you were going to talk about that one?
Because you played 80 games a lot. You played 82. What do you think of when you hear the term load management thrown around?
It shouldn't be needed, first and foremost. I never wanted to miss a game because it was an opportunity to prove. It was something that I felt like, the fans are there to watch me play. I want to impress that guy way up on top who probably worked his ass off to get a ticket or to get money to buy the ticket.
You really cared about the guy who sat in the top deck at the Palace in Auburn Hills to watch you when you came to Detroit?
Yeah, because I know he's probably yelling at me and I want to shut him up. He's calling me all kinds of names. I definitely want to shut him up.
Right.
Michael Jordan is hovering over the NBA, and I get why. This is not a criticism of Michael Jordan. It's really a criticism of Adam Silver and the executives and ownership in the NBA. They can't come up with a solution for what's wrong with the NBA. And so they're like allowing Michael Jordan and the media to mostly drive the discussion about what's wrong with the NBA. Adam Silver is the worst, the weakest commissioner I've ever seen in professional sports in my lifetime. He has no solutions. And so he's allowing their premier, because again, the NBA on NBC is now, to me, in the catbird seat. They're the top. They're what TNT used to be. Now that the TNT show's on ESPN, it's the NBA on NBC. And now they're using the greatest player of all time to basically subtly take a dump on the NBA.
So, I 100% agree with everything Michael's saying. And I agree with everything that you indicated as well about how much better, this current product is, or how much better the product was before than today. But my point is this. Like, the NBA is making a miscalculation in themselves talking this up. Like, they shouldn't be highlighting this or bringing this to light in my humble estimation. I talk about this kind of stuff all the time on my own platforms. I will continue to talk about it with what Michael said last night, in agreement of what Michael is saying. But for the NBA and NBC to be casting a light upon it, and they themselves talking it up, is really just undermining the current product. The best way to move forward from LeBron James, which I agree, we have to. LeBron James is the most destructive force the NBA has ever seen. He is the only player that has left the game worse than the one that he inherited. So I have been waiting for like a decade to move on from this guy. He continues to cling on with dear life to the NBA right now, trying to keep, you know, his fingerprints all over it for as long as he possibly can. We have to move away from him. But in my estimation, the best way to do that is to move forward with these new bright rising young stars in the NBA, and not in focusing on the greatest player that ever existed in the sports history, that retired 20 years ago, 25 years ago, really. He had his last you know, marquee moment, in my estimation, in 1998. So we're approaching 30 years now in the post-Jordan era kind of deal. So I just think, why bring this guy in if he's just going to be talking up himself and his former era? I think it's just kind of undermining the youth that's coming out now.
Paul, my pushback would be, you as a former coach and understanding the coaching profession, when you're talking about young people, I don't think they're persuadable. I think they can only be forced to adopt change. And so you think, and you and Adam Silver and NBC perhaps think, hey, we're going to put out enough information and, I mean, propaganda in a positive sense, that's going to persuade these guys to do better. They can only be forced. We've paid them way too much money. Many of them come from a hip hop culture of entitlement and a mindset that they can't be persuaded, because they don't even understand basic logic. And so my argument is, this is ineffective, and what they really need is old school leadership. They need a Bobby Knight. They need a Michael Jordan, perhaps, to be commissioner and to say, we're not doing it this way anymore, and we've adopted rules. But because I remember when David Stern said, hey, we're doing a dress code. And everybody was, oh, he's racist, and how dare he ask these guys to dress like professionals? Doesn't he realize that black guys, you know, have to dress like they're gangbangers or they're not authentically black? And then once he did it, everybody was like, oh man, this is much better. And he forced it on them. That's the only way to deal with young people. Again, Paul, you're probably a father. You're certainly a coach.
No, I'm actually not.
Oh, I'm sorry. But you're a coach, and I'm just kids do what they're forced to do. Persuading them, very, very difficult, particularly this era of kids. And so I think it's huffing and puffing about a problem that we're all aware of. These guys are lazy. They're entitled. They don't want to deal with aches and pains and blah. And so only thing we should be talking about is solutions. Persuasion won't work. And I don't think the fans that you think he's doing outreach to, I don't think they can be persuaded by nostalgia. If they don't see a different product, more effort, and less load management, they're not coming back. These players are unlikable. The fans that have been run off, they're traditional family people with traditional values. They don't want their kids mimicking the behavior of these current professional athletes. Paul, ball's back in your court.
Back to how you opened the show, you talked about a process. I do believe that this is part of a process. It is, again, I hate to repeat it, but it is out with the old, in with the new. And some of these new players, or newer players, they are marketable, but the stench and the overlay covering of what it has been for the last 20 to 23 years, I cannot emphasize this enough. I study this daily. From a business and entrepreneurial perspective, they have pushed away people, and I know your age, Jason, I don't know Jay's age, but the 30, 35, 45, 55, 65, many have left. They can relate to Jordan. And by the way, we cannot go to the finish line in terms of what he's going to talk about with Tarico over the next, say, 2 hours and 45 minutes worth, or the fluidity, and if they will add more. I do believe we're going somewhere here. I don't think NBC is going to blow this and just make it about what we've heard in the first 6-7 minutes. I think we will get there. Is he going to draw X's and O's? Probably not, but I don't think that that's what's needed. He's the only person in the world, except for maybe Tiger Woods and Tom Brady, that can speak to everybody and say, look, here's how it was. Now get these new players to buy in. I do think the Anthony Edwards, I do think the Giannis, I do think Cooper Flags, I do think that those people are impressionable and persuadable and may take his guidance. I do believe that.
Scap.
Yeah, I just have to fundamentally disagree. Paul, I don't think you referenced 20 to 23 years or whatever. I disagree. This started right around 2011, 2012, like basically when Kobe Bryant ceded control of the NBA, stopped being the true face of the NBA, and LeBron James took over. That's when it all went to crap, in my estimation, because even if you could argue that the 90s were better than the early 2000s, there were still players carrying the baton of the way the game was intended to be played, competing the way that the former players did in previous eras. Somewhere along the line, the leadership on the court in this current era, which begins with LeBron James, dropped the baton. They let go of the rope, and now all of the other players that follow behind him are kind of just following his lead, playing like the Pied Piper in this like perpetual just era of destruction that he has authored.
If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a moment of Fearless.